Welcome back to FastMonty's Garage. Today's episode we're going to bench bleed my brand new Wilwood Master Cylinder that has a proportioning valve. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Most of my projects I've never done before. This one is kind of included, whereas I have done Master Cylinders, but I have not done one paired with a proportioning valve. So it should be fun. Now, if you missed last episode, we did a ton of mock-up work with the new Master Cylinder because we had to change our brake line lengths. We had to modify the location of our bracket and proportioning valve. We also had to modify the push rod adapter. Yeah, it was a fun project, so go check that out if you need help getting it mocked up. But now it's mocked up, it's time to bleed it. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove it, and we'll meet you at the workbench. All of you who got a Master Cylinder from Wilwood got a bleeding kit. It comes with the Master Cylinder, but you can also buy this individually if you ever need to do it again or need a backup. The reason is you have to do this is that most of our Master Cylinders are mounted at an angle. So here's the firewall, my rudimentary sketch, here's the reservoir on top, and here's the piston. So if it's at an angle, there's going to be air trapped up in here in this area, and this is the outlet to our brakes. This is the inlet from the reservoir. That air has no way to get out unless you make it level and you can get the air out. Now you can jack up the rear of the car to make your Master Cylinder level and do this in the car. It's obviously much easier to do on the bench, which is what we're gonna do right now. This is how you should set it up. You have adapters that come with the kit, put them in the front and rear ports, run the tube through this magic clip that holds it in, and you want to be about 1/4 of an inch away from the bottom because we're going to fill this halfway and we're going to start cycling the piston to get all the air bubbles out. And you don't want to have air get sucked back in. Now my original plan, just so you guys know, was to have this attached and then run the bleeder down to the bottom, and these hoses aren't long enough. So my plan of attack, and in case you're wondering, there are 3 ports on here. This is the rear port and 2 fronts. So you can actually run from the front right or the front left. In my case, I have a distribution block. So you can permanently seal one of these holes. So this one's gonna be my permanent plug. These are gonna be temporary. So I'm gonna do our bleeding exercise and then attach this and bleed it again out the 2. Seal them up, and then put it in the car so I'm not rushed to do the bleeding exercise with the brakes. Let's go. Okay, using EXP 600 plus. So making sure my hoses are covered, I'm going to push one down a little bit more. So using a push rod of your choice, I'm using a screwdriver, big fat Phillips head, start cycling the piston, and you can see obviously air coming in and out. Add more fluid where necessary. You can vary your speeds. You basically want to keep doing that until there's no air in those tubes. Give us some love taps, make sure all those bubbles come out. Might take you a while, do some quick jabs on the push rod. Oh, I got some air out there. Once you're confident that you have no air in the system, quick jabs, slow jabs, whatever, no air in the lines, no air coming out of the reservoir holes, the fun begins. Because if you're trying to put this in your car immediately, I would recommend taking the hose off, hose clip with the hoses, and leave it right here. We want it elevated. Don't take them off these nipples yet. Now we can put our reservoir back on, our cover. And this helps with preventing air to be sucked back in because the air doesn't have any, the fluid doesn't have anywhere to go, nor does the air. And get your fasteners tightened down. Now with it tightened down, I would leave your hoses attached, keep this elevated, go put it in the car. But now we're going to try my experiment. I'm going to take the fittings off, put our valve in, replace the fittings here, and then go through the same process. Here we go. Okay, this is turning into a disaster. Not according to my plan. Okay, I need to get something to hold this under the valve so we can just drain straight into it. Plan B, I'm just going to take the plugs out. Let it kind of gravity bleed. Give it a tiny push. Make sure I don't run out of fluid. Put these fittings back on. So that didn't go according to plan. So now I have the hoses attached and they're submerged in the oil. I'm gonna get another bottle. So I have a second bottle on backup over here and see what happens. Looks like I have to do the process all over again, but I'm gonna do it this way to make sure I have no air coming out the top of the reservoir over here. This is fun. So I basically did the same thing again. This is not refilling back in the reservoir, so obviously I needed another bottle. It's getting close to the top, but now I can see it's gravity feeding. Some little bit of air is coming out. Do a couple more jabs on our piston. Get some more air out. But I think we're good. So I'm gonna go ahead and take each one of these out. Put this is a 3/16 inverse flare, if you didn't know. And put those in, tighten them down, and then I can just leave it as is on the bench until I get my partner, probably my son, my 10-year-old, to pump the brakes for me to actually do it in the car. Oh yeah, just installed this in record time and I forgot to turn on the damn camera. So my fault, boys and girls. But what I did prove to myself was that when we mocked this up and I talked about making sure your brake lines are perfectly lined up with the ports to make installation easier, totally helped. So the temporary plugs, I actually cracked a little bit on the bench. So when I put it in here, I could just use my fingers and quickly put them in. Totally worked. I only had like 4 or 5 drips. That's all the towels. The next step, actually, the big learning thing was if you do have the proportioning valve, try and bleed the entire thing together. Obviously, I bled it twice. I didn't know. It's the first time with proportioning valve bleeding. But next step, bleed the entire system and do a road test. You have to drive like 30 miles an hour, slam on the brakes, make sure your rears don't lock up. You never, ever, ever want your rears to lock up. So keep turning counterclockwise until they don't lock up. And then, another half turn for safety measures. Unless you're drifting, then that's a totally different problem. Next video, super excited. I just got notified that my new 20x12 wheels are in transit. So that means in the next few days, I'm gonna get them and test fit them. Because remember, a few episodes ago, we measured for them. Oh man, I'm a nervous wreck because I'm trying to get ready for the road to Reno 2024, hot August nights. And the time is ticking away and I have to be ready in like, I don't know, I have like 5 days to work on it. Effectively, I have a vacation in the middle too, so it's just bonkers. But anyway, subscribe if you haven't, because the next few projects are going to be insane, I think, because again, trying to get ready for the road to Reno. But thanks for hanging out. Until next time, build them fast, drive them faster. See ya.